What if I told you that an NFL game was practically over before the first quarter even ended? Not because of an injury, not because of a blowout, but because one man, a 5'10" blur nicknamed the Cheetah, turned the league upside down with 3 touchdowns in just 12 minutes. This wasn't just speed. This was domination on national television. A game that was supposed to be about Mahomes versus Brady, and yet Tyreek Hill stole it before the first commercial break was over. The NFL is built on moments. One play, one quarter, one decision, and history changes. Fans remember the comebacks, the Super Bowls, the dynasties, but there are also moments of individual greatness so overwhelming that they defy logic, so lopsided they look like a video game glitch. On November 29, 2020, during Week 12 of the regular season, one of those moments occurred. The Kansas City Chiefs walked into Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay to face Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, a team with the 6th-ranked defense and a chip on its shoulder. All the headlines were about the quarterback matchup. Mahomes, the league's new face. Brady, the greatest of all time. But by the end of the first quarter, that story had changed because Tyreek Hill had put up 203 yards and 3 touchdowns. In just one quarter, not over the course of a game, not by halftime, one quarter. What followed was an avalanche of broken coverage, desperation, and fear, and yet most people have already forgotten how surgical and devastating it truly was. This is the untold story of the fastest hat trick in modern NFL history, and the man who tore through a Super Bowl-bound defense like it wasn't even there. It was billed as a modern classic before kickoff. The defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs were 9-1, with Mahomes throwing lasers, Kelsey bullying defenses, and Andy Reid cooking up plays with ridiculous efficiency. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, meanwhile, were 7-4, still adjusting to life under Tom Brady, but growing more dangerous each week. Their defense was a wall, ranked top 10 in both rushing and passing categories. Fast linebackers, physical corners, a pass rush that could break pockets open in seconds. But here's the thing no one said on air. Tampa's secondary wasn't built for track meets. It was built for zone containment, not vertical explosions. And Tyreek Hill, he's a one-man explosion. The Chiefs knew it. Mahomes knew it. And Tyreek, he could smell blood before the coin toss. With 6:38 left in the first quarter, on Kansas City's second offensive drive, the Buccaneers were holding steady. Until Mahomes lines up at his own 25-yard line. Tyreek is wide right. He gets a clean release. No press coverage. Mahomes sees it. He drops back 5 steps. No hesitation. He throws a moonball. Tyreek is already 5 yards past Carlton Davis. No contest. He catches it in stride and waltzes into the end zone. He doesn't celebrate with a spike. He backflips. It's 10-0. The announcers laugh in disbelief, but no one is laughing in Tampa's defensive room. That was a foot race Tyreek was never going to lose. Says Tony Romo on the broadcast. Tampa tries to adjust. The safeties cheat further back. Carlton Davis moves off the line, hoping to play over the top. But Tyreek isn't just fast. He's surgical in space. On the next drive, Mahomes and Tyreek cook up a double move route. Tyreek fakes an out, turns upfield, Davis bites. Too late. Mahomes hits him with a rocket at the 20. Tyreek walks the rest of the way in. Touchdown number 2, 44 yards. And the first quarter isn't even close to done. Tyreek jogs back to the bench, flashing 2 fingers. That's 2. He says, no trash talk, just math. He's making this look too easy, writes the Athletics beat reporter. He's not just open, he's wide open. By now, the Buccaneers' defense had been exposed. The crowd in Tampa was stunned. Commentators were speechless. But the Chiefs were far from done, and Tyreek Hill wasn't playing to prove a point. He was playing like he was chasing ghosts. On their next possession, with the clock winding down in the first quarter, the Chiefs faced a 1st and 10 at the Buccaneers' 20-yard line. The stadium grew quiet, as if it knew what was coming. Mahomes took the snap. The pocket collapsed around him, but he rolled right. Tyreek, lined up in the slot this time, faked a drag route, then darted upfield behind the linebacker and in front of the safety. With just enough separation, Mahomes dropped a pinpoint pass, and Tyreek, untouched again, dashed across the goal line like it was a walk in the park. Touchdown number 3, 203 yards, 7 receptions, 1 quarter. He ran over to the sideline, held up 3 fingers, fingers and smirked at the camera. 1 quarter, that's all it took, said a shocked CBS announcer. Bleacher Report tweeted, Tyreek Hill has 203 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. Is this Madden on rookie mode? Let's pause and put this into perspective. NFL players don't usually reach 200 yards in a game. Only a handful of legends have ever scored 3 touchdowns in one game, and fewer still have done it in a half. Tyreek Hill did it in 15 minutes of play. At the end of the first quarter, Tyreek Hill had more receiving yards than the entire Buccaneers offense. He had more touchdowns than half the league scored that day, and he became just the second player in NFL history to record 200-plus receiving yards in a single quarter. The only other player, Lee Evans in 2006. But not against a defense of this caliber, and not on this stage. This wasn't just speed, it was something more. This was anticipation, reading coverages, turning the smallest cracks into giant holes, and executing at a level that felt superhuman. Carlton Davis, the Buccaneers cornerback tasked with covering Hill, was no scrub. At the time, he had 4 interceptions, 14 passes defended, and was considered a rising star. But after the game, he was honest. They were making great calls. He's just fast as hell. Fast as hell. That's what it boiled down to. The problem wasn't just Hill's speed, it was his acceleration. Most receivers need a few strides to reach full speed. Tyreek Hill, he's at 20+ miles per hour by his 3rd step. That kind of velocity doesn't just test defensive backs, it breaks them. The Bucs didn't have time to react. Their safeties were too deep, their corners were too hesitant, and by the time they adjusted, it was too late. As much as this performance belongs to Tyreek Hill, we can't ignore the engine behind it, Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes finished the day with 37 49th completions, 462 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. All 3 of those touchdowns went to Tyreek Hill, and every one of them came in that insane first quarter. But it wasn't just raw numbers. It was how they connected, instinctively, effortlessly, in perfect sync. Mahomes knew exactly where Hill would be, not just on paper, but in motion. Their connection felt more like a reflex than a route. That's what made this hat trick deadly. It wasn't just about outpacing defenders, it was mental warfare, the ability to outthink, outtime, and out-execute in real time. By the time the second quarter began, the Buccaneers had shifted into survival mode. Defensive coordinator Todd Bowles, known for his aggressive blitzing style, was forced to abandon his usual scheme. No more man-to-man, no more press coverage. Everything went soft. The safeties backed off, sometimes as deep as 20 yards. Corners gave Tyreek 10 yards of cushion just to keep him from burning them again. The Bucs essentially conceded the short game, hoping Mahomes and Hill wouldn't take the bait. It was a desperate but necessary change. They couldn't let Tyreek keep doing what he was doing. But even with the adjustment, the momentum never shifted. The Chiefs kept the pressure on. Travis Kelce started eating up yardage underneath. Mahomes continued to march down the field with surgical precision. And Tyreek, he didn't need more touchdowns. He had already shattered the game. For the remainder of the game, he added just 66 more receiving yards, but the psychological damage was irreversible. The Bucs were broken long before halftime. The Monday after that game, the headlines weren't about Tom Brady. They weren't about the Bucs' potential playoff run. They were about one man, Tyreek Hill. ESPN. Tyreek Hill embarrassed the NFL's best defense in 12 minutes. NFL.com. 3 touchdowns, 1 quarter. Tyreek's day for the ages. Skip Bayless. Carlton Davis is going to have nightmares for months. Shannon Sharp. Hill's the most dangerous weapon in football, and it ain't close. Even opposing players chimed in. Jalen Ramsey tweeted, "Cheetah's playing a different sport," and fans across the league started asking the real question: is Tyreek Hill the fastest, most explosive wide receiver the game has ever seen? The comparisons started immediately. Deshaun Jackson, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice in his prime, but none had quite replicated what Tyreek did that Sunday afternoon. 203 yards and 3 touchdowns before the stadium vendors finished their first lap. When we talk about football greatness, we talk about Super Bowl rings, MVPs, and clutch postseason moments. But sometimes, true greatness is measured in singular dominance. And Tyreek Hill's first quarter explosion wasn't just a stat line, it was a football earthquake. It forced coordinators to change how they call games. It sent ripple effects through future game plans and playoff prep. And it carved his name into a chapter of NFL history that even the league's best defenses couldn't erase. The 2020 Buccaneers would go on to win the Super Bowl. But ask any Tampa defender what game gave them the most trouble that year. They'll say one name, Tyreek, and one number, 3. Tyreek Hill didn't need 4 quarters. He didn't even need 2. In just 1 quarter, he dismantled a contender, humbled a defense, and reminded the world that when speed meets precision, When talent meets instinct, the game can be over before it even begins. So next time someone tells you about a clutch comeback or a legendary Super Bowl drive, ask them, do you remember the day Tyreek Hill ended the game in one quarter? Because legends aren't always built over time. Sometimes they're built in 12 explosive minutes.